If you're a salon or spa owner, cosmetology school gave you the skills to serve clients, but it didn't prepare you to run a business. You probably thought ownership would mean freedom, but instead you're working harder than ever, barely paying yourself, and worried that everything's going to fall apart the second you step away. Welcome to the station, where we give you real strategies, systems, and structure so you can step into the CEO seat where you belong. Hey friends, welcome back to the station, the podcast where salon and spa owners learned how to run real businesses without constantly feeling like they're drowning in pressure, confusion, and everyone else's expectations. I'm Bree, co-founder of the Beauty Biz Agency, and I've got my amazing co-host Chandra here with me today. Hey girl, how are you?
Oh, doing good today.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. So I think today I want to talk about something that I know a lot of owners out there are thinking, but a lot of them are kind of too scared to bring it up and really say it out loud. The reason that I know this is because I have gotten a ton of messages via TikTok about this. So I think it'll be really, really good to talk about. And I want to talk about how the industry that we are in didn't just change overnight, right? However, the expectations of new stylists, they almost did in a way. Like it was completely night and day, almost from month to month. I think COVID had a lot to do with this. I think people were watching a lot of social media. They got a lot of different ideas. And so I think the way that newer stylists think just kind of changed really quickly. And I think a lot of salon owners right now are trying to build profitable businesses around things like work schedules, availability, and priorities, but they just don't really support the math that some of these new stylists are wanting. And so it's a really, really hard position for us to be in as salon and spa owners. Yet at the same time, it's just one of those things that we have to learn how to hire into a generation that wants flexibility. They want balance. They don't want to work nights. They don't want to work weekends. They don't want to work more than 30 hours a week. They're not motivated by money in the same way that previous generations were. And they don't really believe in the hustle culture that you and I were taught, right, Chandra? Like that's what we lived. We ate it, we breathed it, we slept it. Like that's what it was. Did you feel that way?
For sure. Yeah, that was just our way of life.
It was. And I see owners talk about this, and we have members in our program that talk about this all the time. You know, we've been doing this for decades, and people now just aren't in that same mind space. Listen, I'm not here to say that that's wrong because I actually think some of the shift that this has brought is healthy. I really, really do. We don't want people killing themselves. And honestly, if I try to look at it like this, if my daughter were coming out of hair school, I would not want her to kill herself the way that I did in order to build a clientele. I really would want her to find some sort of work-life balance. However, we can't pretend that a service-based business can survive if we ignore the reality either. And so it's this messy, messy middle ground. Social media has created like this illusion that you can come straight out of hair school, you can work very minimal hours, you can avoid the busiest times, you can skip that grind phase, and you can still make a ton of money almost immediately. And I think that illusion is colliding head on with the actual demands of running a salon or spa that serves real clients, that has to pay real bills, and that actually supports real people. It's just a mess, in my opinion. Like that's all it is. So today, I think we need to talk about how owners can kind of lead through that shift without shaming the next generation, because a lot of times that's kind of what we do. We put a little bit of shame on them, but also without selling out your standards that you want and without building a business that quietly bleeds you, the owner, dry. So once we kind of accept, I think, that the hiring pool has changed, and that is one thing that everybody out there is going to have to do. You are going to have to accept it. I think the real work for us as owners becomes kind of figuring out how we can build a business that actually works inside of this reality for everyone, right? Fighting it is not going to help you at all. Complaining about it is not going to help you at all. And pretending that it isn't happening definitely isn't going to help. We talk to owners every day, Chandra, that are just stuck in this. Well, when I started and when I did this and when I look back and all of, you can't do that. It's kind of like talking to your kids, right? Like, I walked 5 miles in the snow to get to school. Like that doesn't work anymore. And so I think we can't do that. How do you think? I mean, do you feel the same way about this that I do?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Like we've been battling and navigating this in my salon for years. And I feel like we finally, like you said, you have to accept it. You have to learn how to work with it and find ways that are going to work for your business. And I think this is a great topic today because I feel like everybody's dealing with this because that's the generation that's coming into your business now. That's the future of your business. So I think it's definitely a challenge, but it also can be really, really great once you figure that out.
I think so. I think what does help is just getting really honest about how a service business grows and then learning to design the structure that's going to support both the business and the people inside of it. And if you can keep your mind wrapped around that, you're going to be fine in the process. A salon only makes money when people are in the building, right? They're servicing clients. They are there during the hours that clients want to book. Like that's what we have to have. That part has not changed. It's never going to change. It is what it is. What has changed is how willing these newer stylists are to sacrifice their personal time early on in order to build that demand. So instead of trying to force them into like this old model or swinging all the way towards total flexibility, I think we as owners are going to have to learn how to bridge that gap in a very meaningful way and be able to lead these newer stylists and make them understand without pushing all of our thoughts, all of our opinions, and all of our ways onto them. I think this is where commission salons, when they are run correctly, they can actually be a huge advantage for work-life balance, not a disadvantage. And I will argue with people until I am blue in the face about this. I will. I do not think independence is sold as freedom, but it's not. Anytime you are running a business, Chandra, are you actually free?
Nope. Especially when you're the only one running your business and you're the only one that has to be relied on for that. Yeah. No.
You know, I laugh about this all the time because I have people that have left my salon who have moved out of state and they've gone solo, right? They couldn't find a good commission salon. They didn't know what else to do. They had to build. This is their career. They love it. And so they went. And I will be in mid conversation with them, 8 o'clock at night, and they're booking appointments. And I'm like, do you ever take a break? Like, do you ever just get to take a break? And they're like, no, not really. And 9 out of 10 of them miss being in a commission salon so much. I think independent stylists that have worked in a good commission salon, I would say that the majority of them do miss being in a commission salon. Do you think so, Chandra, if they go independent?
Oh, yeah, I think so. And I've seen them go back into that, like you said, trying to find that after they realize that it's not what it sounds like it's going to be like.
100%. Social media can sell you anything, but they don't always sell reality. That is the truth. I think when someone is brand new to the beauty industry, client demand isn't something that they can control yet. And they really need to understand that, right? Because they don't have retention. They don't have people that are requesting them. They're still building confidence and speed and consistency and all of these things. And when demand is low, flexibility doesn't really help you much. It just stretches out the growth process to be way longer than it ever needs to be. And so I think if we can lead these new stylists into understanding that, things will change and the way that they see things change. If a new stylist only works these limited hours, they avoid the peak times or they aren't consistently available when the clients are booking, it's going to mean what? Fewer appointments, fewer reps, slower growth, lower income. Lower income. Then 6 months or a year goes by and they are completely frustrated because they're still not making the money that they thought they would. This is something that I see all the time on Facebook or on Instagram. Stylists are trying to build, they're newer and they are frustrated and they want to get out of the industry. Do you see that, Chandra?
Oh, yeah. I think that that happens a lot, and it's really sad because I think it does. We lose a lot of really talented people just because they don't get it and they don't understand and they don't want to put in that effort in that way, and then they quit and go do something else. And I think it makes it really hard for us, as commission salon owners too, when you're losing people like that just because they haven't been taught the right way and they don't get it.
Yeah. 100%. And that's where we've got to lead, right? Like we have to lead differently. One of the things that is really, really important that I learned probably right after COVID, to be completely honest with you, is that you have to explain how growth actually works in a service-based business. That's really, really important. And you have to get into the nitty-gritty of it when you are onboarding and training these new people. If you alleviate that conversation, they are always going to think that you are just demanding them to be at work all the time. And that's not really what it is. Instead of selling flexibility as something that comes immediately, I think we need to build it into their career growth plan, right? Early on, structure matters more than freedom because it does 100%. Consistent schedules matter 1,000,000%. Being present during the busy hours is going to matter. That's how the demand is created. Once the demand is there, though, that is when flexibility becomes real instead of theoretical. When a stylist has a decently full book and they have strong retention and they have clients who are requesting them by name consistently, they can then reduce those hours without hurting their income, without hurting the business as well. And I don't care what anybody says, as owners, that has to be important. It has to be important. They can also take time off without everything falling apart. Balance works at that stage because it's supported by the demand, not by wishful thinking. So I think the adjustment that owners need to make is removing expectations, right? We have to have those expectations. We can't remove the expectations, but we have to show them how it plays out in order, like a ladder, the way that you climb up, right? In any other industry, that's what you would do. This phase looks like this. This phase earns you this. And this is how your schedule changes as your demand grows. Chandra, do you see owners get less pushback from their team when they do explain things up front instead of just having these new stylists kind of figure it out along the way?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've even just had that even for myself when we changed the way that we were doing things. I've never seen so many people from this generation and this age group grow as fast as they have grown. After struggling with trying to do it for like a couple of years, trying to get them motivated, trying to get them to do these things. And I think when you make that shift in your business, yeah, we see it even in our members. Like when they finally also kind of get it themselves and are like, okay, I'm going to give into this. We're going to come up with a new plan. They start seeing their numbers grow like crazy. And that generation does like that. It's just they have to be able to have that, like you said, that structure in place for them to understand how this works and to start to see that reward start to come. And then it gets super easy.
Yeah, it's real easy for people to say that they're not motivated by money when there is no money being made. When that money starts coming in and they're able to not live with mom and dad anymore or buy a new car or do any of those things, you do as an owner realize that money does motivate. It motivates all of us because money is something that we all have to have in order to live. I think when we have that type of clarity, it actually helps newer stylists feel safer instead of restricted, right? So when we have that structure, it does give them some safety, which is really, really important. They know what they're working toward. They understand why the structure exists, and they're not left wondering why flexibility isn't working the way that social media made it seem like it would. Because that's one of the things that I hear with a lot of younger stylists is, these people made it look so easy. Like they're out partying every weekend or going on vacation 3 times a month. And I'm like, that never happens year one. It is never going to happen year one. It just doesn't. I think from the owner's side, this approach is going to protect the business. And it's the only way that you can do that. You're not constantly trying to patch the schedules, because something that you and I see, Chandra, is that when you have to patch those schedules in, who fills it? The owner, right? And so instead of getting into that CEO role, instead of leading the business like they are back behind the chair again, just trying to fill in those gaps to get the revenue coming in for the business that they need. And so it really hurts people. You're not over hiring just to cover limited availability either. We see this all the time. People have so many extra bodies in their salon that they don't need. And this is why they feel like payroll is through the roof. Nobody is, hitting the commission that they need to hit. Everybody's being paid hourly, yet you've got 10 people sitting around doing absolutely nothing. I think instead of just trying to come up with a plan, you have to make sure that you're building this intentionally. You have to build a business where flexibility is earned, growth is supported, and profitability isn't sacrificed in the process. And this is something that salon owners really, really struggle with, in my opinion, Chandra. They'll hyper focus on one thing, but yet the business suffers on the other side, or vice versa, right? Is this something that you've noticed as we've been coaching together?
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest things that owners do is they hear, like, for instance, this is a good example, I think, where we are teaching them how to implement KPIs with their team and they see what KPIs do as the owner. They're like, oh, yeah, yeah. So then they're like, you guys got to hit these numbers, but then they don't ever put behind it why what is going to align that team member with the numbers. So then they're frustrated, my team won't hit these numbers, my team won't do this, they won't do that, and then they get annoyed because they're focused so much on just that part of, like, oh, I want to increase the revenue, I make them do X, right? Instead of the other side of, how do you get them to do X? You can't just give them numbers and say you have to hit these now in order to grow. They don't get that. You have to align it in a different way, and I think that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that because we got a message. I don't know if you saw it, but we actually got a message in Slack like yesterday from one of our members. And she's like, oh my gosh, KPIs work when you lead your team and you lead it right. My girls have grown tenfold. They're making more money. The business is making more money. Like, who knew this actually works, right? It's really funny. I think something that we have to remember, adapting to this generation doesn't mean that you have to lower your standards or that you have to give up complete control. That's not what it means at all. It just means being smarter about how people grow inside of your business. I think commission salons, when they are structured well, they actually give new stylists a ton of stability while they're building, and they also give experienced stylists the ability to create balance once they've earned it. And that is one of my favorite things to see. I don't know about you, Chandra, but I love seeing my masters come in 3 days a week, make over 100K a year, and be able to live their life. I know you have this in your salon too. So how does that make you feel when you see that?
Oh, I think it's amazing. I mean, I think, from my standpoint too, I'm like, why didn't I do that when I was behind the chair? Right? Like, I'm like, I wish I would have had all these perks and all these things and all this stuff. But we did, again, back then, that wasn't how we did our industry. That wasn't how our business was. So I think it's amazing. I'd love to see that for them. I mean, we encourage that in my business all the time. To If I see them even working too many days or something, I'm like, you need to, like, take time off because you don't have a work-life balance. We just changed some stuff too to give them more work-life balance. And at first they were like, no, now they're like, oh, this is great. So you just have to, it's a different way of thinking about it. Doesn't mean it has to be bad.
I agree. I think that's the middle ground that most owners out there are missing right now. It's not hustle culture that they're missing, right? It's not chaos disguised in this flexibility type mindset. It's just leadership that understands how growth, demand, and balance actually work together and being able to explain that to your team in a very well-rounded way. I'm curious, Chandra, when owners finally learn to make this shift, right? Where they care about work-life balance for their team members and they explain to the newer stylists, like, this is how it is. This is what it looks like. This is what you can do. And I will help you get there. What do you usually see change first? Is it the numbers? Is it the team culture? Or is it the owner's stress level?
Honestly, I feel like it's a little bit of all three of those things kind of at the same time. I think the culture definitely starts to take a big shift pretty quickly when you start doing that. And then I think once your culture becomes a little bit easier, you become more relaxed, and organically your numbers just start to go up. Like, it really does work that way. It's crazy because when you're in the thick of it, you probably aren't thinking, yeah, right, like that's going to make a difference. But it really does. We've seen it happen tons and tons of times. And I think it makes everybody's life better, your team and you as the owner.
I would agree with that. I think it affects all three simultaneously. And I actually know that from experience, and so do you. And I think, I know we harp on this all the time, but I think this is why it is so important for owners to be in that leadership role. Because when you can't focus on that, I'm telling you, there is no way that you can be behind the chair servicing clients all day, every single day, and trying to deal with just this part of the equation, building those newer stylists. One thing that kind of irks me, and you may feel differently, so I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I am irked when salon owners, commission salon and spa owners specifically, say it's not my job to bring people in. I do feel like it is their job, especially in the beginning, right? We need to have that pool of clients for our newer stylists. Now, once they come in once, it is our team members' job to do the pre-booking, to get add-ons, to do retail sales. And yes, they need to market themselves on social media as well. But for the most part, when somebody is new, it is our job as salon owners. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's how we frame it when we do hire new people. It's I will help you get clients, but now it's your job to keep them. But then we give them a roadmap on how they keep them, right? But it's like it has to be a give and a take on both sides, I think. But I think you have to take that responsibility. It's your business. You built the business. You have to bring customers into the business, you know.
100%. All right, guys, if you're out there listening to this and you're thinking, okay, but how do I actually make this work in my salon? Here's where you need to start. We're going to kind of walk you through it. So before you think about flexibility schedules or what your team is asking for, you have to get really, really clear on what your salon actually needs in order to run well. Because at the end of the day, if your studio is not running well, there's not going to be a studio for people to work at. So that's really, really important. And the one thing that I want to say, because salon and spa owners are emotional creatures, it's a fact. We just are. When you're figuring out how your business needs to run, you have to take the emotion out of it. You have to think operationally, not emotionally. So we're going to walk through 6 steps that salon and spa owners need to take in order to make this work in their salon. Number 1, I think, is get clear on the availability your salon or spa actually needs. So before you change anything, you have to understand when your salon actually needs people in the building. And most owners, they think that they know this off the top of their head. And I know this because when we're coaching people, they automatically throw out certain days. But a lot of those owners are usually looking at it from the team's perspective instead of from the client's perspective. And you have to look at it from that client's perspective. So you need to go into your booking system and you need to look at when clients are actually requesting appointments. What days are full? What hours fill up first? What hours stay empty? Because your business doesn't grow based on when people want to work. It's never going to. It grows based on when clients want to book. And if your busiest times don't have enough coverage, it doesn't matter how talented of a team you have, you're going to lose revenue simply because no one was available to take those appointments. And until you know those things, you can't build or offer flexibility in a way that's going to work for you and your business long term. Chandra, this part, it seems so obvious, but how many owners do we see skipping this and trying to fix schedules without ever looking at the booking data?
It happens almost every one of them. And I think you hit it spot on by saying they're thinking of it from the team's perspective or from a service provider's perspective, not from the business. Same way what we've been talking about the whole time. If you're telling your new people that they have to work X hours because these are the hours that you need to be available that clients need to book, you have to think that way for the business too. Like you have to think like when do clients need to come in? And not from that service provider side. And I think that's what happens in the beginning when we try to help people through this every single time. That's what the way they approach it to begin with.
Yeah, it's really interesting. One thing that I will say though is as we coach people, it's really funny to see that mindset shift. They come in thinking from one side of the spectrum and they end up, middle of the program thinking with that CEO cap on. And it's really cool to see that shift because that is when they start growing. That's when their business starts growing. That's when they gain more freedom, when their employees start growing, everything. It's really, really cool. Okay, number 2. You want to build multiple shifts around the demand, not creating custom schedules. So once you understand when your salon actually needs the coverage, the next step is building shifts that are going to support that demand in full. And it's really, really important. It's got to work for everyone, because what happens in a lot of salons is every stylist has their own unique availability, and the schedule ends up reflecting their personal preferences, right? Instead of, like Chandra said, what the business needs. And over time, that's going to create those gaps during your busiest hours, and or you're going to have too many people there during the slower times, which we see a lot, which is costing you a crap ton of money. I think shifts that really solves this problem. It doesn't mean everyone works all the time, right? It just means your busiest hours are consistently covered so clients can book when they want and need to. This also removes, I think, a lot of that emotional pressure when it comes to creating scheduling, because it stops being about negotiating with individuals and it starts being about supporting the business as a complete whole. And when you say it that way to your team, it makes a difference. And I think that's one thing that commission salon owners miss, Chandra, is they want the team aspect, but yet when it comes to being an owner, they don't share information as a team aspect, right? Hiding things because they're scared somebody's going to take that information and run with it and open their own salon or do all of these things. And you can't run a commission salon that way. Tell people why it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, you definitely holding those secrets and holding things back, that makes your team not trust you. You know, if you're trying to build like a culture of collaboration, a culture where everyone on your team is part of making the business grow and wants the business to grow, they need to be part of that as a whole. It shouldn't just be like you're the gatekeeper and you only give like little bits of information here and there, because then they're going to fill in the blanks with everything else. They're going to feel like it's not a place where they can grow and they can feel safe and this is their long-term place to be. It's going to make them want to put their foot in some other door, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. It doesn't do you any good. If they're going to do that, they're going to do that anyways, and they're going to find the information anyways, and they're going to fall on their face just like you did when you opened your business anyways. It doesn't matter, right? Like you're not holding secrets that aren't out there anyways. So let it
Especially
go.
with Chat GPT, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, you can find anything with Chat GPT.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I learned a lot from that. Yeah, I just think, I find that so bizarre to me. And they hold it on so tight. Like they get mad when we're like, just stop, let it go. They get so mad sometimes. And you're like,
yeah,
that's why
definitely.
your business is the way it is.
100%. And it is in a lot of the surveys that we have sent out to not only salon owners, but actual people that work in commission salons or have in the past. Trust is one of the biggest factors. And I don't think salon owners realize that hiding information is a trust factor, like you said. Now, one thing I do want to say is you don't give your whole personal life. That's not what we're talking about. But when it comes to numbers and plan and strategy and everything that actually affects your employees, you can share those things. I share numbers with my team all the time, big, important numbers. Like, this is where we're at this month. Like, here's the exact penny that we're at. This is how much goes to education. This is how much I spend on this for you guys. I share all of that in depth, and I know you do too. And I think that's why the bonds that we have in our business are really, really solid. Okay, number 3, make sure your pricing supports your operating hours. So if you're open a lot of hours, your pricing has to support that, right? Because every hour your salon is open, it has a cost that is attached to it. The overhead, right? The rent, utilities, payroll, software, supplies, all of that crap adds up whether someone is booked or not. And if your pricing is too low, you end up needing constant volume just in order to break even, which makes flexibility really feel impossible. You can't give your team what you want to be able to give them. This is why Chandra and I preach knowing your cost per hour every single week on this podcast. Like literally, I think we mention it every week. Because I think once you understand what it actually costs to operate your salon, you can price your services in a way that supports profitability, which is the goal, instead of constantly feeling like you need more people or more clients or more hours just to survive the day. Proper pricing gives you breathing room, period. It allows flexibility to exist without putting your business at risk. Chandra, this pricing piece is the one that every owner that we talk to avoids the most. Why do you think that is, even though it absolutely impacts everything the most?
I mean, it just seems like we're all afraid of pricing. Like we're afraid to increase prices. We're afraid to actually know if our prices aren't making money. It's like we just want to brush the prices under the rug and just go with either what we feel comfortable with or what our salon down the street is pricing their stuff at, instead of actually pricing it correctly for our specific situation, because everyone is different. And I think that's the biggest thing. It seems like whenever, and they drag their feet a lot of times when they start in the program too, when we're like, we need that pricing, and they're like, oh, okay, and then like other things they do first, and it's like, well, we need that pricing. And so I think it's just something that everybody doesn't want to think about. They don't want to look at. They're afraid of it being wrong or having to change it. So
Yep, I agree with that 100%. 100%. All right, number 4, and I think this one changed my business probably not as much as pricing, but it would be number 2 on the list, I would say. And I know it did for you too, because I coached you through it, but adjust your operating days that are not pulling their weight. A lot of salon and spa owners, they keep their doors open 7 days a week because they feel like they're supposed to. But when you really, really look at those numbers, some of those days, they are not helping your business at all, right? They're draining it probably. If you're open on days where there is very, very little demand, you are still having to pay to operate, but you're not generating enough revenue in order to justify that. And that creates unnecessary pressure on you, the owner, and honestly on your team too, because when they sit there and there are no clients, that's really, really deflating. It makes you feel bad. Sometimes shortening hours or closing on the slower days, it actually makes the salon stronger all the way around because it concentrates demand into fewer, more productive hours, which is really, really important. This makes scheduling easier. It's going to improve your profitability, and it reduces that constant stress of trying to staff hours that don't even need to exist in the first place. This is probably some of the most pushback that we get from our members as we are coaching them through this. However, once they realize that it's the right decision to make, they love us for the rest of their lives. Chandra, when owners finally give themselves permission to close or to shorten a low performing day, what do you think surprises them the most?
I think they're surprised by how much freedom they have. Like it's one less day of stress when you're the owner, when you aren't open that day. And when your revenue doesn't drop from that close, or it might even actually increase from doing that, it's you still get that extra day even for yourself, and your money and finances and everything hasn't been affected in a negative way. And I think that's their biggest aha moment when they go through that process.
I agree. I think it is so cool to see. We have salon owners who were open 7 days a week, who are now open 4 days a week, and their profitability is 10% higher. And they're like, how in the world does this even happen? And we're like, it happens all the time. Like it happened for me. This is why we coach these things, because we've been through it, we've corrected it, and we know that it works in our business. So I agree with you. It's probably one of my favorite things to see, honestly, because it is one of those shocking factors, right? It's really hard to get through your mind. If I'm not available every day for the one client that might call that we might miss out on, I'm really going to miss a whole lot, instead of thinking we're making more money and I get to be with my kids or my family or do whatever myself, 3 days out of the week. So it's really, really cool. Okay. Number 5, we talked about a little bit, but it's creating career growth plans that earn flexibility over time. So we already said newer stylists don't demand or don't control demand yet. So early on, they have to have consistency more than flexibility. They need exposure to clients, right? They need repetition. They need time in the building so that they can build confidence and build their books and do all of those things. When that starts building, then they can move up. As they move up in levels, maybe they get one Saturday off a month. Maybe they only have to work one evening. You can do it whatever or however works for you, but it should be built into those career growth plans. Chandra, I know you and I both do this. When owners explain flexibility in this way, the way that we teach our members, as something that kind of grows with demand, do you think the stylists respond in a positive manner, or do they give pushback in the beginning?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with that owner and how they explain it, to be honest, because I've seen it go both ways. And when we dig deep, we find out that they didn't present it or show it to them or train them in the way that they needed to. So I think when they do it in the correct way, it does make a huge impact in your team. Like I've seen it, I've had it happen, I've preached by it now like crazy because it has been a game changer for us. But I think you do have to present it in that way so that they get it. They have to understand. And that's that gatekeeping mentality again. Sometimes it's like they want to tell you to do these things, but they don't really give you all the reason why. And it's like this generation especially, they need to know why. They're not bought in. They don't want to just listen to you. They don't want to just take your word for it. They have to kind of be convinced and they want to know why. And I think in some aspects, that's actually a really great thing. They're not going to just let anybody tell them to do whatever and they're just going to blindly go do it. But like we used to do, it's like, okay, I'll just do this. But I think at the same time, it also makes it harder for us to learn sometimes how to work with that. But once you do, it's actually really easy and they're actually really great. I love those team members. They're the most motivated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is a huge reason why coaching is so important, right? Like we have trackers that will help people show their team how, when they create their career growth plans, what it's going to look like for them. Like this is you 12 months from now. This is you 24 months from now, and so on and so forth. And they can see the income going up like crazy, the days working coming down, like all of the things. And it's really, really important. It's also important because you and I have been there. We've had the hard conversations the wrong way many, many times, and we've learned how to do it the right way, in a way that is productive and in a way that is successful. And I'm telling you, I would have paid every penny that I had back in the day if I could have found something like that. I really would have, because I would have grown so much faster. I look at these people that are commission salon and spa owners that have been doing this 20, 25 years, and they are still behind the chair every single day, all day, because they think their business needs their revenue and they are terrified to step away. And all it takes is investing in yourself just a little bit and you'll get there so quick. But I'm on a rant now, so here we go. All right, number 6, lead with clarity instead of trying to keep everybody happy. This last piece is where everything I think really comes together, because structure only works when you are clear about it, but rules only work when you implement them as well. A lot of salon owners just avoid the conversations because they don't want to upset anybody or they don't want to seem too strict. But the truth is, I think unclear expectations, they really create more frustration than clear ones ever will. When people understand what is expected, like Chandra said, why it exists, right? And how it's going to benefit them long term, they are going to feel more secure in everything that they do. They can see a future with you inside of your business. And you know what that allows you to do as the owner? Stop carrying all of the freaking weight. You get to stop carrying it, right? Leadership, one thing that salon owners have to get through their mind, and I don't care what anybody says, salon owners are controlling by nature. They just are. And leadership is not about controlling at all. It is about creating clarity so the business and the people inside of it can grow in a healthy way. Chandra, when owners finally get that controlling mindset out of the way, and they realize that they just need to get clear on everything and they need to stop accommodating everything, right? And everyone. Do you think that the team starts stepping up more, or do you see owners realize, you know, that their team doesn't really step up at all? Once again, they get a little bit of pushback.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it's like a little bit of both, right? Like it depends on the owner. Like once they do it the right way, like we've talked about, like really setting those clear expectations, sticking to those clear expectations, and then making sure that everybody understands the bigger picture, super easy. And it takes all the burden, I would say not all, but majority of the burden off of you at that point. And they do take accountability and they start doing things and they start growing and they start growing the business for you in many ways because that's kind of how you have set them up to do it. But we see the opposite sometimes too, when owners, they have these big conversations with their team, but then they start bending on the expectations and they start letting things go. And then it ends up almost in a worse position than, they were even before, because now their team's like, what is happening? Just all these rules don't matter. Now it's even harder. And so I think it's just really creating that, like you said, and then really sticking to it, making sure everybody understands and everybody knows. And then your life gets so much easier and your team is so much happier.
Yeah. I think owners don't realize everything that they're carrying and they don't understand how important consistency is. And it's something that we tell our members all the time. It's like a toddler. You tell them no once. Okay, they're going to do it again. Right. You tell them no twice. All right, they might do it again. You tell them no the third time. You swat their hand. They usually get the picture pretty quick and then they start doing things. So if you can just hang in there long enough, picture it like a toddler, you're going to be okay. Here's the thing, when you are not implementing and being consistent as an owner, you are no better than your team breaking the structure or the rules. It's no different. Like, you are in the same boat and you can't be in that boat because you are the leader, you're the guider, you're the coach, and that is very, very important. All right, guys, before we wrap up, you know that we love to switch gears and get in for one listener question. So here's the one that came in this week. It says, I have a stylist who is insanely talented and clients really, really love her, but she is inconsistent. And honestly, she's kind of hard to manage. She's late sometimes. She always pushes policies. She is very emotional and she makes the vibe kind of weird when she's not in a good mood. I'm sorry, I'm picturing somebody in my head right now. But she also produces a lot of money and I'm scared to lose her. How do you handle a high producer who is also a culture problem or a culture cancer, as you and I would say, Chandra? I'm going to toss this one to you because I know you've been there, done that. And
Yeah, I mean, I think this is always a hard situation, right? Because you don't want to lose that revenue, but you're losing tons of revenue by having this person in your business acting that way because you can't grow and you can't bring in new people to grow because that person is always going to be affecting them. And so I think the biggest thing is always first, you have to just sit down with them and have an honest and transparent conversation. Like, these are the things that are happening. Why? Is this the way it's going to, like really just be transparent with them, let them speak, let them tell you why they maybe did something the way that they did it or why they are acting a certain way. Because a lot of times it could be something you could work through with them and it could end up being totally fine. But, once you've done that and you've tried maybe a couple of times and you just have to let them go. Like, I don't have patience for that kind of stuff anymore. I mean, I've gotten to that point in my career. And then when I see other stylists or salon owners doing it, I'm like, what? Why are we hanging on to these people? Like, it's not, the money's going to still come in. Like, you might go through a tiny little slump of something for a hot minute, but the money is still going to come in and you're going to be just fine and you're going to be better. And so is your team. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, try to work with it, but be honest, open, and transparent and let them do the same thing. It doesn't need to be an attacking conversation. That's the only way you're going to get through it, and know which route you're going to end up. Because if you've had that really good conversation and it's still not working, they got to go.
yeah, I agree. And I think, one of the things that we see quite frequently is you've allowed this behavior for so long that it's now just become natural. And so I do think there has to be a little bit of a gray area where you're trying to get people back into the realm of things. Salon owners are on both sides of the spectrum. Either they don't give the opportunity at all, or they give the opportunity for the person to change, and then they let that bad behavior continue for 6 months, like you said, and I don't know either. I know this is one of your biggest pet peeves, is like keeping people on, way longer than you need to. But I do know for a fact, we have been coaching salon owners for years now, and we have seen that it usually ends up better for your business if you just let them go, if they are not willing to adapt to what you're trying to do. So I think you hit the nail on the head with all of that. All right, guys, as we wrap this up, let's bring it back to the simple truth. At the end of the day, you are running a business, period. And if that business isn't profitable, none of it works. You can't support your team, you can't grow your people, and you definitely can't create flexibility if the numbers don't make sense. Like, it's never going to work. But it's also true that you need people in order to run that business. And the reality is the hiring pool has changed. If owners aren't willing to adjust at all, hiring is only going to get harder for you, not easier, especially over the next few years. The opportunity here is that commission salons, when they're structured correctly, they can actually offer something exceedingly valuable to this next generation. They get to show up, they get to do the work, and they get to go home without carrying the weight of running a business, managing expenses, or taking on the risk. This is one of the biggest things that people don't talk about enough. It is a huge freaking risk. I know salon and spa owners who open up buildings that have put $1 million on the line, A lot of these younger kids, they don't have that. It matters. It matters long term, guys. So this isn't about choosing sides. Chandra and I aren't choosing that the newer stylists are right in the way that they've changed, or that the salon owners are right and staying stuck in the old way. It's all about compromise. It's about being willing to evolve without losing the foundation of what makes your salon or spa work. If you are open to adjusting your schedules, your pricing, and your growth paths in a very strategic way, this can benefit absolutely everyone, your business, your clients, and the people that you are going to hire. Guys, if you need help sorting through what actually needs attention in your business, whether that is pricing or structure or profitability or just figuring out what your next move should be, you can grab some amazing free resources and explore coaching options on our website, thebeautybizagency.com. We can help you look at what's really happening in your business and kind of map out changes that are actually going to make sense for where you are right now, but most importantly, where you want to be in the future. Salon and spa owners don't look to the future enough. They just depend on their own hands generating revenue forever. And that is, at some point, time's going to be a factor. Your body's going to give out, and that's going to be a factor, and it's going to change your life drastically. If this episode helped you or made you think maybe just a little bit differently, share it with another owner who might need to hear it. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. It helps other salon and spa owners find us. Also, make sure that you are subscribed so you never miss out on what's coming up next. Chandra, how can our listeners keep up with everything we've got going on at the Beauty Biz Agency?
Yeah, definitely follow us on social media, the Beauty Biz Agency on Instagram or Facebook, or the Beauty Biz Mentors on TikTok. And you can also shoot us an email at admin@thebeautybizagency.com too. If you have any topics or anything you'd like us to discuss, definitely send us that information because we love to get that from everyone. So make sure you stay in touch with us.
Absolutely. We have a free course on our website too, guys. So we've got so much free information on there. It is almost insane. But with that being said, that's a wrap for today. You've been listening to the station where salon owners stop building their businesses around temporary comfort and they start building it around structure, clarity, and profitability, most importantly. Until next time, protect your standards, lead with intention, and remember, flexibility works best when the business itself is strong enough to support it. Now go out there, make bank, run the show, and ditch that chair. And as always, keep slaying those business goals with a whole lot of swagger. If this episode lit a fire under you, don't just walk away and let it die out. Deep down, you already know where you want your business and your life to go. And the truth is, the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is a real plan to get you there. That's exactly what we help you build. So if you're ready to stop trying to figure it out on your own, head to thebeautybizagency.com and book your free strategy call. That call can give you the clarity that you've been needing and a real plan to move your business forward. Because at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and the salon business you've been dreaming about is whether or not you're willing to take the action and the steps in order to build it.